Sigils, Kia, and Gnosis. Are these the core practices in chaos magic? Stay tuned to discover the key practical tools of a chaos magician. Hello everyone, I'm Angela and welcome to my Symposium. I'm a university lecturer and a doctoral researcher, and this is your online resource for the academic study of magic and magic practicing religions and traditions. In this video, I will cover the key practical elements of chaos magic. As the academic research on the topic is still limited, my source for this video's content will mainly be Chapter 3 of the doctoral dissertation on Chaos Magic in Britain by Justin Woodman. However, it's worth mentioning that the material contained in this video will also be in accordance with my field experience with the mentioned primary sources and the scholarship referenced in Woodman. As mentioned in a previous video on the philosophical underpinning to chaos magic, this magical tradition is one which focuses primarily on getting results and experiments with different means in order to achieve the intended goal through magic. It is hence not surprising that we find practices borrowed and re-elaborated from different traditions and religions. This is not exclusive to chaos magicians. In fact, the same trend can be found across different contemporary traditions and religions practicing magic, including paganism and shamanism. However, in chaos magic, this mixture of practices is held together and reshaped by a relativistic, antinomian, utilitarian, and individually tailored ethos. As a result, the magical techniques employed by chaos magicians are ingrained within a worldview where human consciousness is the only source of meaning, and yet it only exists as a phenomenological process, bearing no predetermined essence, nor an intrinsic ontological nature. For chaos magicians, there are three main sources of knowledge: books or textual material, teachings from other peers or teachers, and of course, personal experience. The textual material appears to be a significant source of inspiration, especially those authored by Aleister Crowley, Peter J. Carroll, Austin Osman Spare, Kenneth Grant, Phil Hine, and Ray Sherwin. The Liber, Null, and Psychonaut by Peter J. Carroll is possibly the most inspirational of them all. And this appears to be especially true for Chaos Magician in relation to its first chapter, called Liber MMM, which stands for Magic, Mind Control, and Metamorphosis. This document is centered around the idea of overcoming mental conditioning, which come from one's personal experience and external inputs. In order to be successful at magic, Peter Carroll deems necessary to control the mind in order to bring the metamorphosis about. The key techniques listed in the Liber MMM aimed at achieving such a goal are motionless posture, breath control, and no mind, no thinking. These are techniques which are also found in yoga and were mentioned by Aleister Crowley too in his well-known book on magic. The idea here is to quell the mind, body, and physical sensations to get to a state where the magician exits the conventional reality to enter a meta-reality, the matrix whereby the fabric of the physical world is susceptible to be reshaped by the will of the magician. Once this state of full potential is reached, Carroll explains that a single pointed focus is needed to direct the will towards the desired end. After all, scattered light will never burn like the sun's rays concentrated in one small area through a burning lens. right? Such a concentration is reached by exercising the focus on one arbitrarily chosen object, by repeating over and over a sound, such as a mantra, or by visualizing one fixed image. It is also believed that a daily practice is beneficial to develop the abilities that a magician needs. And keeping a journal or a magical diary can be helpful to keep track of one's progress and to have a reference to check which practices were more successful or unsuccessful, and which elements of such practices may have caused either outcome. The most known practice in chaos magic, which has been influential to witches beyond the realm of chaos magic, is the use of sigils. Once the magician has mastered a calmed, deconditioned mind and a single-pointed focus, he or she is ready to cement or seal their will into a physical token to bring the intended change about. This is what the sigil is, and it was originally devised by Austin Osman Spare. As Woodman highlights, while many ceremonial magicians treat the magical wheel as the teleological endpoint of the spiritual progression, chaos magicians tend to identify the wheel with Kia or chaos. In this sense, chaos magicians articulate a postmodern ideology in which the wheel does not represent the realization of one's essential spiritual nature, but rather a tool to generate the metamorphosis. The magical wheel is actualized through the Gnosis, a state where the boundaries between subject and object fade, and the single-pointed focus is believed to pierce through to affect changes to one's reality. The role of the sigil here is to be charged by the will of the magician in the aforementioned state of consciousness, to seal the wheel and bring it to physical existence while the fabric of reality is still permeable in the state of gnosis. As a result, the sigil is believed to act as an anchor between the realm of potentiality generated by a state of gnosis and the physical realm of the ordinary reality. As such, it will represent a trigger to the unconscious mind of the magician, to their will with the capital W, to turn the intended potential into actual manifestation. But now let's see an example of how a sigil is made according to chaos magic. These are a few examples of how to create a sigil according to chaos magic. There are actually a few more, but these are the ones reported in the reference literature. As you can see, even in this case, we can appreciate the chaos magical philosophy, which is to strip things to their bare essential. Basically, according to chaos magic, you can create a sigil by spelling out the sentence which reflects the magician's wish, and then remove all the repeating letters, and then the remaining letters will be assembled in a way that makes a graphical image, which then becomes the sigil. The same occurs with visual, the pictorial representation. For example, I can assume in this case it is a man with J as their first letter, and perhaps there's the intent of healing or some other intent. But even in this case, the repeating lines tend to be removed, and only the bare skeleton without all the repeating parts are stripped, so that only the essential visual element stays and then gets reassembled
into a graphical sign which becomes the symbol. Then as the third example, we have the mantra. We have the formation of a mantra using a similar method to the first one, but in this case not to the purpose of creating a graphical sigil, but to the purpose of creating a mantra to be repeated.
So this is it for today's episode. Before we wrap the video up, please allow me to introduce to the Inner Symposium my new patrons and new channel members. Thank you so much for joining my Inner Symposium. It really means so much to me. You are the reason why I'm still able to keep this project alive and divulge freely and on a public platform the academic study of magic, esotericism, the occult and related currents. So thank you with all my heart to those who just pledged and to those who stay pledged. Now, if you like this video, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, activate the notification bell so that you will never miss when I upload a new video. And do let me know in the comments what you thought of this video. What is your experience with chaos magic and whether there's anything that you feel I missed out or that you'd like me to cover in a future video. I guess I just love to interact with you guys, and as you know, I always reply to your comments. So go down there and just leave your thoughts. Also, if you want us to grow as a community, please share my videos around. It really helps us a lot. And as always, stay tuned for all the academic fun. Bye for now.